we've started, it was just a card and an account, and it meowed. Now it can woof. Any system would be abused, and that system is even easier to abuse. But then it might unlock an opportunity for people to thrive beyond what they even believe they're capable of. And that's the part that really excites me.
Boris Diakonov and Eduard Panteleev. You guys are from ANA.
We split the roles. It does help a lot. It balances out because, we are very different strong points and weaknesses and blind spots.
Yeah.
It just helps just to have a different perspective on things.
Welcome to FounderMetrics by Vested, the podcast where we dive into the world of hotshot business leaders and the specific metrics, not just the usual KPIs, that drive their game-changing companies forward. I'm your host, Ifti Nasser, CEO and founder of Vested, and I'm excited to take you on this journey with me into the world of successful founders. I'm here today with Boris Diakonov and Eduard Panteleev.
Good morning, Ifti.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You guys are from ANA, and
Yes.
we'll find out a little bit more about ANA in a second. But where'd the name come from?
I think you tell the story.
Well, the name, it actually was coined by Michael Wolff. He's a great friend of mine. And he actually thought that as a brand name for a different entity which we started, which ultimately was called Tochka. But it felt something quite interesting, and it's feminine. It is has this human touch, and in the world of metal, blue, and everything, we wanted to be a bit humorous, a bit human, and a bit feminine, and that's why. And then
And it starts with an A,
Yeah.
which gets you high up
High
in
up
the,
in the ranking,
alphabet, right? It's only 4 letters. It's easy to write which way you turn it around.
yeah, and it's and it sticks. Like you hear it, you remember it.
And then we had to come up with a longer name, and then just as an acronym.
Yeah. So tell me what it stands for,
It stands for Absolutely No Nonsense Admin.
which is brilliant.
Yeah, but it came later because we
Yes.
couldn't register a company called Nana, so we had to come up with a name.
It's an interesting way around of doing it. So brilliant. But tell me a little bit about yourselves first. I mean, you're 2 Russians here in London. How did that come to
We're
pass?
too British here in London. Though with roots, yes, from Russia.
Indeed. But so what brought you to London to start off with? And, how
We-
did
we were going
the
through this-
journey together
Yeah.
start? Because you guys are like just meeting you outside to start off with, and the chat that we'd had previously. Just a set of harmonious characters, very, very different individuals. Seriously, very, very different. But you seem to click. You say something, then Eduard will say a response. You just seem to flow.
We try to.
Well, it started with we had some pretty difficult period in Russia, and we realized that it would be very difficult to do something in this environment, which was becoming very suffocating for business. And I suggested to Boris, let's move to do something outside of Russia. And it was a long story with zigzags to South Africa.
Yeah,
and
with
then
a
from
little
South Africa.
stopover, yes.
And ultimately, we ended up trying to launch in the UK, and that was quite a while ago. It's like 7 years ago now, I think, something.
Yeah,
that
and we've met, was it 16 years ago, under really funny circumstances, but yeah.
Tell us how you met.
Do you want like a really long version or a shorter one? It was It was in a smaller regional bank that was called Bank24.ru, and we had a bank run, a liquidity crisis, which I wasn't ready to admit, and then Edward tells his part of the story.
Well, it was this crisis, financial crisis of 2007,
2007,
2007.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that something would actually happen very soon, so I was getting prepared, so getting cash ready, etc. So it was an opportunity time, I thought at the time. And when the crisis actually started in Russia, and there was this first, banks, bank runs, and banks starting to fail. I was thinking of buying a bigger bank in Yekaterinburg, which was
My hometown.
yeah.
You were thinking of buying a bank, as people do.
Yeah, but like a, like a special situation kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was negotiating with those people, with those guys, etc. But then ultimately, I lost competition to a much bigger, kind of more established, institution. And that was that day when I actually met the owner, and he said, well, he declines my offer and in favor of this bigger institution. And I was driving in the car with a friend, and I was obviously upset because it took quite a lot of time to negotiate, put up the financing in place to do the acquisition, etc. And he suggested that we stop over by another bank, and I was like very skeptical about it, and it was quite late. But he called Boris, but I didn't know that he was calling Boris. He said, like, I just talked to, the CEO of that bank, so, he's ready to meet. And it was like 10 p.m. or something. And, and that's how we met. Boris was in distress, but tried to show that he's okay. I was like very skeptical about this situation, but I decided to give it a go. And that's how we met. And
But how did you end up being in a position? I mean, were you working for an organisation?
I was working. Yeah, I was working in the organization, a bigger organization. I was a minority shareholder in that organization. Like I got sweat equity, etc. But I was like a junior, partner there, and that was something that I was leading. Like I was, among other things, I was leading M&As, and all in all, I bought like 8 banks in Russia. So it was like quite an experience for me. And I was one of the very first people in Russia who was starting buying banks. Because at the time it was like a weird concept. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah. So Edward and the team, they bought that bank, and then we started working together, and then trying things, and then and then building, just focusing on smaller business propositions. So
That's brilliant. I mean, one of the things, again, the partnership that you seem to have built, as I say, is quite incredible. And we won't go deeply into this, but it is something that's of interest to me because it's something that we've had a little try at. But you, Boris, I know, are a big advocate of holacracy, and I know we didn't want to spend too much time on it, but just for the listeners, just tell us about holacracy in a few sentences and why it's an interesting approach to business from your perspective.
I have discovered it absolutely by accident. Actually, thanks to Edward, because you brought some people that told about holacracy, and it's pretty much about building self-governance teams and giving power to the circles. That's what hola stands for. But it came in a time where I realized that Bank24 and later Tochka, they're becoming quite large,
Yeah.
and I'm not capable of controlling everything anymore. Yes, and I just love to control things and get really nervous when I can't. Yes. And I was like controlling literally everything, like what type of coffee is being served in the cafeteria, like that bad.
Control freak.
Yes. No, but yes. And but then I also had a dream to go circumnavigating, which didn't marry well with controlling what type of coffee is being served in the cafeteria in the other end of the world. And I got really enthusiastic about the idea. Our first attempt at it failed miserably. We tried it in one portion of the business with customer support. It failed. Then we had a second attempt at Tochka, which was, I think, hugely successful. But several things got to be right. There's got to be an organizational motive for that and a personal motive for that. You actually have to believe that thing and to be willing to give up a lot of power and trust to the team. And you've got to have operational processes right, because holacracy breaks things 4 or 5 times faster than things break in a regular company. And so unsuccessful event came from it was in a team where people weren't motivated effectively. They weren't aligned with the purpose of the business. So pretty much if you tell to self-govern to a bunch of people whose only dream is to close their notebooks and leave work as early as they can, and for whom it's a survival job, for the ones that don't care about the customers, it's a dead end.
So everybody has to be in the same mindset for it to work.
Yeah. So what it helped is that it helps with the maturity of the company, but it has to be mature to start with, and some basic operations have to be in order.
Thanks for
So
sharing that.
that's a very
and
brief.
I think that point about everybody being essentially in the same mindset, and otherwise you'll end up with it breaking.
Any
lot
system
faster.
would be abused, and that system is even easier to abuse. But then it might unlock, it doesn't guarantee it, but it might unlock an opportunity for people to thrive beyond what they even believe they're capable of. And that's the part that really excites me.
Brilliant. Okay, let's move on a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about Anna and what it actually does, because it's actually both exciting and frightening in some ways as well.
Well, Anna is a business account with embedded tax functionality, meaning it can automatically calculate your taxes, do your accounting, and calculate corporation tax, VAT, payroll taxes. And
it files them.
And it files, yeah. So we also want to add income tax for sole traders and income tax for directors, but it's not kind of part of the functionality as of now.
As of now.
Yeah.
But you say it so simply, but it's an AI, isn't it?
Well, in different areas, we, in a sense, we are AI powered, but we've started doing that way before it became so popular. Because originally when Anna launched live, we went live 7 years ago, right?
Yeah. 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2018.
Well, yes, but then it was like friends and family period. It was always chat based, so you kind of talk to it like you would to an assistant or to a human. You pretty much tell it to repeat a payment to EFT I've made last week.
Yeah.
And it would start preparing things for you.
I mean, that's the exciting bit, just taking the noise, as you say, just doing an invoice. Do an invoice to, as you say, to IFTI, and it pulls it together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so that's where it started. Where is it now?
It still
how
talks.
further? yeah, but how it still talks. Obviously, I mean,
Well,
what's
it
its
does, not just
capability? What's the
talks.
capability evolution
Yeah,
from
yeah.
where it
Just I
started?
guess one more thing about AI. Everybody's playing with
Yeah.
ChatGPT now,
Yeah.
right? I'm more than sure than everybody who watches or listens, they've played with it. Now, the fun bit about Anna, what we've done from the beginning, and that's what they call now LAM models. It does things. It not only just talks.
Yeah.
It actually creates
Executes.
invoices. Yes, it makes payments, and that's an important bit, and that's been with us for years. We're perfecting that. And you mean where we are now, like in terms of numbers and growth and
But also in terms of the capability. So numbers and growth would be great to share because that's part of the metrics that we'll explore in a second. But also the capability from what you started with to where it is now, and certainly where you think it's going in the next. Because I mean things are moving so fast, and
well, we've started. It was just a card and an account, and it meowed. Now it can woof. It's a great progress over the years, right? Now when your invoice gets paid, you get to hear a sound of a happy dog woofing. But on a more serious note,
Well, I mean, there's a ton of things that we are kind of adding every week, every month, and etc. But generally, we are just at the beginning of the actual integration of accounting, tax paying, and business account.
yeah.
We launched tax calculation functionality just about a year ago. So it was like the first attempts and first subscriptions, etc. So there's still a lot of things we need to do. And in a way, we think of that as a new kind of category, potentially. It's in between what typically banks do and in between what typically accountants do. So it's this space which enables you to create additional value and additional functionality, such as, for example, the things that many small businesses are struggling with, like how much can I take off the business and in what form? Is it a salary? Is it dividend? Is it a director loan? Like how to deal with that? And the app does it for you kind of automatically and does it the best tax optimized way. And you don't have to think about it. It would just do it on the go. So that is not something that is done by banks. That is not something done by usually accountants, or it's somewhere in between. And there's a lot of interesting things that you can actually create with that.
So who are your prime target? Who are your prime customers?
Small businesses with less than 10 employees, typically young, newly established, Gen Z, whatever you want to call them, but businesses which have been recently started. These are like our kind of targeted audience, and
Is
are.
it those who are scaling, or is it the small sole venture with a few employees?
Either way.
Either way. We don't mind businesses scaling, not at all. But we don't mind if it's just a side gig.
So
or
if they started off with 10 and they came to you because it's your perfect number, and then ended up with 100, would you still be able to serve them?
Of course. We want to support them along the way, etc. But we are also aware that not every tree goes to the skies, right?
Yeah, obviously.
So, and we are still with them. We like them. We love them. And even if they stay small, we're there for them. If it's just a side hustle for people.
Yeah.
And the truth be told, most small businesses, they stay small.
Yeah.
It's just if you have a barber shop, right, it would have 2 seats. Well, maybe it would end up with having 3.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it any worse for that, because in the startup community there is this mentality: you got to scale, you got to grow. But for most businesses, the sweet spot is actually what they can manage.
But going back to Anna and the tool as it is, I mean, there's loads of accounting tools, some that begin with X, some that begin with
Other letters.
QP. How does Anna interact with those? And you talked about banking as well. So where does it fit in?
Well, we've got integrations with many
Different
accounting,
letters.
with different account software providers. But the thing is that all this accounting software that requires an accountant to operate. The one which you refer to with X, you can run it yourself.
Yeah.
You can run it
But
yourself.
why would you want to spend your life doing that?
But that's exactly the question. Like, if it can be done automatically, just categorization, building the ledger, accruals, etc. Why would you do this? And you can do this, just perform an accountant role. But for small business owners, it's a heavy burden. And it's time consuming.
Yeah.
Does require certain qualifications. Some of them are not comfortable with doing that. They would outsource that to an accountant.
Yeah.
So we are there to help them with that. And for a subscription fee, which is £24 a month, which is much less than an accountant. And how many coffee cups can you buy for this £24? That's
Probably 4 or 5. Not many.
Not many. So
well,
that's
if you
exactly.
don't add caramel to that.
So that's exactly the point. Like, why would you spend hours of your time doing that if that can be done by just...
Because most people would consume way more coffee cups doing that.
Let's come back to you guys. I mean, from what I know from our previous conversations and stuff, you guys work as a pure 50-50 partnership. Everything is jointly done. And one of the things that we talked about is around how you work together. Sharing, I think, is the big thing that came across to me. Sharing the good, the bad and the ugly, the pains of the journey as well as the successes between the two of you. And you mentioned about being there for one another. Do you want to just talk about how that works between you two? Because I think it's brilliant.
You first. I think I thought of the ugly first, but yes, but it's the hard times that would often require extra strength, but then for us also the times where things are going well and there is a temptation to get overly excited. Mm-hmm. So the way it works with sometimes I would be excited and Edward would be incredibly skeptical. Most often it's the other way around, or at least that's how I think about it. I'm normally the skeptical one, but the hard times when there are just difficulties and just humans get tired. Even metal gets tired, right? And has to be replaced and retired after some period. And I sometimes would be just, no, I just can't do that anymore. I'm tired. So no, just sit, breathe. It's gonna be all right. And Edward has this saying, everything's gonna be all right, and the way it's gonna be is gonna be a good way as well. if I've translated it well. Anyways. And sometimes it's the other way around. So I'm
incredibly blessed that I met Boris and we've gone through a lot of things together, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity that we work together, because it's a very lonely business, running a business, and and it's very demanding. So having this luxury of talking to someone who is in the same kind of shoes but has a very different perspective sometimes is a good thing, but also we can do a lot more together, we split the roles, we split the things, and it does help a lot, and then it balances out, because we're very different, and it, we have different strong points and and weaknesses and blind spots,
Yeah.
and it just helps just to have a different perspective on things.
It certainly seems that way. As I say, you guys seem
It's-
to click so naturally. So you start the business, things are moving forward. I mean, at the moment, how do you feel about the business? Is it going well? And how are you gauging whether it's going well? Because, I mean, the normal metrics that people use, whether it's cash flow, whether it's revenues, etc., those things are not necessarily, they're universal, but they don't help individuals understand the sense in their business. So how do you guys feel? What do you use as the gauge to get a feeling as to whether the business or the team or the opportunity is progressing well or needs intervention from you, needs something to change? How do you do that?
I have a I have a maybe a perspective on that is if you see energy building, like energy in the team,
Right.
which is the right kind of energy coming from what they've done, etc. And if they feel proud and they tend to own the results, like they they feel like they own this good result and they are proud of it, and the energy starts building, that's a good indicator of you doing well.
You walk in the room and you kind of immediately
Right.
know. You look at the chats, for example, chat with every particular team, and there's the level of questions that are being discussed.
Yeah.
That pretty much is a great forecast for the grandiosity of the result that's being achieved.
And the other thing is that autonomy, if it's autonomous and it's energy producing, it's good thing.
Yeah.
Like for example, we had this strategy session workshop,
I
whatever you
just here
call it.
wanting to refer to that.
The team which is doing admin in Texas got together. They've achieved a milestone in their kind of plans. They've achieved certain ARR metrics that they were targeting. They were celebrating it, but also planning for the next moves. One thing which I noticed is that it's autonomous.
Yeah.
Because if you are to come into these meetings, lead them, inspire them, and bring in a lot of energy, it's you doing it. But the others are like sitting. I mean, they want to participate, blah blah blah, but they don't own things. They don't kind of, really.
It's whether you play football or you're watching football.
Yeah.
Both of you are enjoying the sport, but in a very different way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's pretty much whether the team is playing football or
Yeah. And you know that.
Spectator versus player.
Yeah. If you see spectators and you're, kind of
Yeah.
there doing it, it's usually a recipe for, you need to think about it carefully. Like if the team is motivated enough, autonomous enough, and they are producing kind of good, demos at the end of the week, then it's clearly something that is going, in the right direction.
Yeah.
So that's the metric that I use. And the other thing is customers. Like if you see, customers, like, I mean, it's very difficult to do it like on a weekly basis, but picking up the trend, like like less frustrated customers, less people who are encountering these corner issues or something like that, and more people who are kind of enjoying etc. And the interaction between the team and the customers, like is it healthy or not?
yeah. Let me bring a bad example for a difference. Like we had and we have a brilliant onboarding process, but a couple months ago, the metrics was still looking good. We were actually hitting our record funnel performance on all parts of the funnel, but anecdotal evidence started to come in where customers would wait longer, would get unhappy. Some of the customers we knew wouldn't get onboarded at all. But the metrics were fine. And then our team member who's working with partnerships, and I think with yourself as well, he was saying, okay, we have had some difficulties, and that is against the numbers. It doesn't support the numbers. But once started looking at that and digging deeper,
it was a sentiment.
Sure enough, things were broken beyond imagination.
I mean, the thing is, you've scaled pretty seriously. You mentioned that not everything is a tall tree, etc. But you guys have got tens of thousands of customers already. That onboarding process has to be pretty slick, does it not?
Yes,
but things tend to break. It's
But it's interesting how you handle things when they break, and also how you handle your customers. Talking to one of your colleagues before, it was brilliant just to hear how they have the autonomy to be able to engage with your customers. Clearly what Anna does is a role that was done by some other human. How does that feel? That you're essentially, making this human happier, but you're displacing this human or this tens of humans or more. How does that feel?
Well, we're not thinking of that as displacing. We're thinking of that there are some mundane tasks that, and I think that people can do, and, more complicated tasks, and societies would evolve and there would be different roles, etc. So that's been through the history. So in that sense, it's just we are trying to eliminate mundane tasks, simple, routine, mechanical tasks, which would potentially give people, time and to do something more creative, more interesting, and we don't see that as displacing. It's just that, if there's something which does it cheaper and with the same rate of success, something mechanical, something, like that would change the structure of, jobs, etc. over time, which is, which is
evolution.
Fine. Yeah. This is evolution. So in that, we are part of this evolution. So we have to face that, 100 years down the road would be different jobs. Luckily.
Yeah. And then, look, there are tax systems where it's not the responsibility of an accountant or an end taxpayer to calculate their taxes. It's just kind of done automatically. And I think that's where a lot of things would evolve over time anyway.
So is that a UK-based tool?
Yes, UK-based for UK businesses.
Yeah. So how what's the potential for it to go beyond?
But we have a story, yes.
Okay.
But before that, also just answering about the potential replacement question. If you could take a picture of an accountant the moment he's brought a bag of invoices, like literally a bag of invoices, 2 weeks before the due date, gets them on their table with, can you please do my return? They're absolutely not happy. They kind of take on that business and sometimes they don't. So that is potentially a win-win. And the UK is, for UK only businesses, but
well, we just recently bought a company in Australia which does credit cards with expense management tools called Cape.io. By the way, founded by a British person during COVID.
Moved to Australia.
Cape.io.
And we view that as a complementary thing to our product later on, but also as a platform to roll out what we do here in the UK to Australia. And we are very excited about it. And Australian market is half of the UK and very interesting, challenging at times, but as well. But we like it, and traveling there is quite
A long journey.
Yes.
yeah, it's a long journey. But and now we have this.
So how
8 o'clock,
often have you been across then?
I've been in January, February. Boris was in March. We've got some team members now there in Australia.
Yeah.
And we now have this 8 o'clock
7
Wednesday,
o'clock,
7
yeah.
o'clock calls.
Yeah.
Yes.
The benefits of having international teams.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So 5 years from now, you see Anna as being, you're already across the world. So do you see this as something that could be around the world?
In definitely we would add additional geography. We don't know yet what. I think it's going to take us 2 years to get to
The next
maturity
market.
and to get to the next step. So we've got some time to think about it. So we'll see. But definitely we would try and go to other markets as well, just as a challenge. Like, if you're climbing 6C, you want to climb 7A, why not? But one thing which we want to maintain is this feeling or the attitude of trying to do, this as craft. I mean, like something which is more like, artisan kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's because we don't. I mean, it's important not to lose touch with your customers while growing.
Yeah, I guess that's an interesting mix. Artisan AI. Yes, they both begin with A, just like Anna begins and ends with A.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see where that goes. I mean, as I said, right from the start, one of the really amazing things about just meeting you guys, even before virtually as well, is just how this relationship is. Excellent. I mean, it's been fascinating and brilliant having you guys in today.
Thank you.
Thank you for
I'm
having us.
honoured,
Thank
and I love what you're doing with Anna. I love what you're doing as a partnership as well. I think there's lots to learn. Certainly, I've got lots to learn.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, guys. Thank you for joining us on this episode of FounderMetrics. Remember, the biggest of ambitions are within reach when you leverage the right metrics and strategies. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and never miss out on any future ones. And don't forget to visit us on www.vested.com for additional resources, articles, and exclusive content. Join our growing community of entrepreneurs and founders by following us on LinkedIn, Twitter, X, and Instagram. We'd love to hear your thoughts and insights. Together, let's continue to unlock and share the metrics of success and create a brighter future.